Hello and welcome to the 5th episode of the Swiftly Spoken Eras Recap, a countdown to the Eras Tour. Over the last few weeks, we've been recapping all of Taylor's eras, leading up to her upcoming tour, which we can now say is next month, which is crazy. These videos, though, almost act like a mini crash course through Taylor's discography that we use to kind of catch up with each era, and then hedge our guesses as to which songs from each album might make the cut for the Eras Tour. Today we're going over 1989, the era that completely changed Taylor's career, with so many big hits from the album that have been performed time and time again over the last few years. We'll be discussing what we think might be heard during the Eras Tour from her record-breaking 5th studio album.
We're now currently at the halfway point in Taylor's discography, and shall be discussing her first fully-fledged pop album, an album that she fought with her skeptical label at that time to be able to have classified solely in the pop genre, but ultimately became a heavily awarded body of work and propelled Taylor into international stardom. The 1989 era was unprecedented in every single capacity and marked the best and worst of times in terms of Taylor's career and public-facing reputation.
Our previous episode and discussion surrounding Red is extremely relevant when we talk about 1989, because Taylor's 5th album in many ways is a direct product of the reception of her 4th. As mentioned in our previous episode, Red was a genre-bending album filled with country, pop, and even elements of rock and dance sounds. For some fans and critics, the crossovers just weren't palatable at the time, and due to this, Red's reception back in 2012 was mixed. Add to this the media's growing obsession with Taylor's private life, especially her highly publicised relationship with Harry Styles. The culmination of all of this came in the shape of the 2013 Grammy Awards, a pivotal night in Taylor's career.
Although Red had been nominated for Album of the Year, it faced a dramatic loss that ultimately pushed Taylor in the direction to commit to making a crossover to pop and create a highly sonically cohesive album inspired by the synth sounds of the 80s and exploring a very specific period of time in Taylor's 20s. Everything that the 1989 album and era was a direct contrast to what Red had been. Whereas her 4th studio album was country-leaning, eclectic, and primarily a record about toxic heartbreak, 1989 had a sleek pop production with an overarching specific sound to it and the in-depth exploration of independence, indecisiveness, and introspection. Chronicling Taylor's move to New York, a relationship that had its back and forths but was seen through a completely new lens, and her self-reflection of her public-facing persona.
Taylor's choice to cross over and label her album solely as pop came with a lot of pushback from her label, who questioned her decision and worried that her fanbase wouldn't cross over along with her. However, Taylor's pop sensibilities had always shone through her music and lended themselves brilliantly when making the jump into the pop genre. Despite her venture into fully-fledged pop and her collaboration with both titans in the genre such as Max Martin, Shellback and Ryan Tedder, as well as the lesser-known Jack Antonoff at the time, Taylor's songwriting skills and abilities carried over, and she was able to create an album with as much heart as her previous 4, while combining pop hits that dominated charts and radio, and immersed herself in the pop culture of the time.
The 1989 era was a rebirth for Taylor as an artist and as a person in many different ways. Her aesthetic completely shifted during the end of the Red Tour, her hair being cut short and straightened. She moved to New York, made an effort to consciously curate what the public and media thought of her and her private life, began to go out with her soon-to-be infamous squad, and ultimately became the centre of attention for both the right and, unfortunately, the wrong reasons.
In terms of chronology, the start of the 1989 era can be pinpointed to the summer of 2014 with the release of Shake It Off, a song that took the world by storm and to this day is likely what Taylor will always be most often remembered for. The album soon followed that October, containing multiple smash hits such as the tongue-in-cheek Blank Space, the dreamy pop of Wildest Dreams, and the anxiety-filled Out of the Woods, the rumour-sparking Bad Blood, and what has been remembered as pop perfection in style among many other notable tracks across the album.
As always, Taylor was able to maintain her storytelling ability, weaving a narrative in earworm lyric form. However, the themes of 1989 started to venture into more mature territory, exploring every aspect of her life and relationships from a more grown-up perspective, with direct allusions to sexuality, something that contrasted Taylor's still squeaky clean image at that time.
1989 was like no other album. The promotion was massive. Taylor appeared everywhere and anywhere, overexerting herself to perform and promote, The singles were smash hits that dominated the charts. The music videos felt like feature-length films containing lore and hidden details and could be deemed as the true start of the Swiftie and Easter eggs in her music videos, and the general aesthetic of the era was clean and polished, just like the music itself.
1989's legacy can't be understated. It revolutionized the music industry in many different ways, finding itself in the crossover to the streaming era. Both critics and fans alike praised the album greatly, as well as Taylor's ability to feel so connected to her fandom even amongst the extreme growth of her popularity. Ultimately, it went on to become the most awarded pop album in history. It would be almost impossible to list out every accolade it received. However, we have to highlight one award in specific. 1989 became Taylor's second ever Grammy Album of the Year in 2016.
Interestingly, in many ways, it felt like 1989 was written and made with that goal in mind. She had created it in such a way that it leaned itself perfectly to appealing to critics and the public alike. After having been created following Red's loss of that award, it must have been gratifying to achieve her purpose in this new genre.
However, all that glittered wasn't gold. Taylor had become a pop icon, but suffered greatly for it. There was such a heavy scrutiny of every single aspect of her life, including all of her relationships, both public and private, platonic and romantic. Her looks came under fire as well, drastically affected her body image and mental health. There was an insurmountable amount of pressure for her to maintain her good girl image, break the trend in her previous breakups by romanticizing what now seems to have been a very lonely and toxic relationship, cater to every audience at once and be likable but not too loud. The overexposure that came with such a promotion-heavy and never-ending thirst for drama that pervaded the culture of the mid-2010s led to the 1989 era having a bittersweet ending to it, most probably leaving Taylor overworked, overwhelmed, and burnt out from it all.
However, focusing more on the live performance aspect of the era, just as the album itself, the 1989 World Tour was a massive undertaking and an incomparable success. Even so, it wasn't able to live up to its name, unlike the Speak Now World Tour. Perhaps she made up for this, though, through the set list, surprise performances, guest artists, covers, and just the overall spectacle.
Speaking of the 1989 general set list, the one that we're going to comment upon isn't really representative of the entire tour, as she did make changes throughout each leg. However, it's just an idea of what she did perform on jam-packed dates. The general set list included Welcome to New York, New Romantics, Blank Space, I Knew You Were Trouble, I Wish You Would, How You Get the Go, I Know Places, All You Had to Do Was Stay, You Are in Love, Clean, Love Story, Style, Bad Blood, This Love, We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together, Wildest Dreams, Out of the Woods, and finally Shake It Off. However, throughout the tour, as we mentioned, she did change things. For example, she switched out You Are in Love for Wonderland. Sometimes she cut out different songs. However, in general, we can say that just by seeing this set list, every single song from 1989 and the deluxe songs has been played live. As we have been doing throughout all of these episodes, we then look at the Reputation Stadium tour, which at this point is our last tour that we can use as a touchstone to kind of compare and see which songs from each era made an appearance on that particular tour. And from 1989, we have Style, Shake It Off, Blank Space, and Bad Blood. However, she did perform some other 1989 surprise songs on the Reputation Stadium tour, for example, Wildest Dreams, Clean, How You Get the Go, Out of the Woods, This Love, Wonderland, and I Know Places. Finally, as for which songs made a reappearance during the Lover era, as we know, this was an era that was cut short and we didn't get what the tour or Loverfests would have been, but throughout that short-lived era, we did get performances of Welcome to New York, of course Shake It Off, and Blank Space.
As well as looking at previous tours' set lists, we've also been looking at stats from Setlist FM. So from 1989, unsurprisingly, the most played song is Shake It Off with almost 200 performances. Blank Space comes in at second with over 100 performances, and just under 100 performances there is Out of the Woods, Style, and Welcome to New York. So by looking at previous tour set lists as well as the stats from Setlist FM, Lisa, what are you kind of feeling is most likely to appear in the Eras Tour Setlist in terms of 1989 songs?
So I know we did say in our previous episode that Red was a bit of a difficult one because maybe the big singles won't take precedence or they might not appear so much. 1989 for me is just as difficult to predict. except for Shake It Off. I think Shake It Off is definitely going to be there. It has to be there.
Really?
Yeah, I think a lot of people might find that a bit like, no, we don't want Shake It Off anymore. It's been overperformed. But I just feel like...
But it's such a staple in her career, and like, in the eras. You know what
exactly.
I mean? Like
it's what we just mentioned. Like, if you find someone that doesn't know Taylor, they know Shake It Off, even so.
Yeah.
Like, it is the song. It's still played on every single radio platform, whether they don't usually play Taylor or they do. It's extremely streamed, although in general 1989 is her biggest like hit album, shall we say. Not well,
and also
Midnight's is coming for its neck, but as a hit album,
kind of like classic Taylor,
big.
And also what's kind of interesting is post 1989 as well, most of the kind of performances that have been like proper performances rather than, you know, just like a, you know, not like the Tiny Desk concert or something like that, not like kind of low-key smaller performances, but ones that have been proper like Amazon Prime Day or Radio 1 Big Weekend, those kind of performances. Shake It Off has always been on this.
It's always there.
Like it's like a standard.
This is it. I just feel like I know it's...
Like Love Story, Shake It Off are there.
Exactly. I know it's a bit contentious. I know a lot of people have been debating, especially over this particular song, but I just feel like it is her most like well-known hit. I think it's up there. I know it's been performed many times, but it is a concert song. I do think that she may do something with it, like she did with the Reputation Stadium tour, where she kind of did it with her openers, Charlie XCX and Camila Cabello. But I think maybe rework it somehow, but I think something, maybe even if it's just a chorus or something, Shake It Off, it's just got to be there. It's just got to be there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think lots of people are kind of saying, oh, we want this tour to be for fans, but at the end of the day, like, you can't not play the hits.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, you know, when you hear kind of stories of people going to concerts and stuff, and they're like, oh, they just played all their new songs. They didn't play anything that anyone knows. Like,
right.
Everyone knows Shake It Off. And maybe it's not my favourite Taylor song. I don't go out of my way really to listen to it. But when it's on, it's good fun. And especially at tour, like, I've obviously been to the 1989 World Tour, I've been to the Rep Tour, and at both tours, Shake Off was so fun.
Yeah.
Like, it was just so fun.
This is it, and I think
it's like one of those things that it's just fun.
Yeah, it's very similar to how we discussed Love Story, where we said, I don't know, a lot of people, perhaps they're thinking, you know, this is overplayed, we've heard it enough now, but then we got a lot of, you guys commented, and, you know, we always ask you to weigh in your opinions, and we love to read those comments, and a lot of people are like, yeah, she's gotta play Love Story, like, it's gotta be there because it's a staple. It really is. So,
and I think Taylor said it herself, I think, where she's like, it might be the 100th time you've played that song, but for some people in the audience, that's the first time they're ever going to hear that song live.
Yeah.
They want to hear it live, because for them, they've been listening to that song since they were 8 years old, and they're now 25. You know what I mean? So I think that, I think that even though, yes, there's a million other songs I would prefer to hear over Shake It Off,
right?
I think that it would be unrealistic to suggest that that is never going to make the set list, because I'm probably about 95% certain that it probably will in some capacity. Like you said, maybe not the full song, and maybe mashed with something else, maybe mashed with me. That would be fun. That would definitely raise my eyebrows. But, you know, in some capacity, I feel like it kind of has to be there. It's so fun, isn't it? Like, it's a fun tour.
Yeah, it is like, the tour song, and it's just such a smash. But other than that, moving on to other songs from the album, I don't know, it's such a mixed bag. I know, obviously, we have the big singles that, like you just mentioned, like they have high performances in the statistics. We have Blank Space, we have Style, we have which are just such, they lend themselves so well to concerts. Bad Blood, which was obviously in the Reputation Stadium tour, kind of remixed, mashed up. So yeah, those were the ones that were on the Reputation Stadium tour, funny enough, the ones I was just reading out. Style, Blank Space, Bad Blood. Now, controversially, maybe I'm going to say this, but I kind of don't care if they're not there, those ones.
Really? See, Blank Space, I think Blank Space kind of goes off. Like, something about Blank Space is so fun, and I feel like if I was going to take Blank Space or Shake It Off, I'd take Blank Space.
Right, okay. I take Shake It Off.
Sure if that's just because I know like the song more.
Yeah. Oh, I gotta say, between them, Blank Space is the better song, both lyrically and just the iconicness, but I'd still take Shake It Off for a concert, personally.
Yeah, true. Because Shake It Off is fun, but I feel like
Blank Space, though, it goes off.
Blank Space.
I know, it's so difficult.
Off, and it's such a big song, isn't it? It's like hard to. But for me, I don't think Bad Blood. I think Bad Blood is not going to be on the set list.
Right. If they're not there, other things from 1989 could be pushed forward into the limelight instead, and I think that would be pretty fun. Because, like we've already mentioned, 1989 is just full of amazing songs and some of her biggest hits. And I think it's interesting now to mention that maybe a couple of these bigger songs, maybe even Shake It Off, could be replaced by the 1989 Taylor's Version songs that we have at this point.
Yeah.
Because I think that she might want to kind of, you know, shine a light on them.
Yeah, on the Taylor's versions.
Yeah. So obviously we have Wildest Dreams and we have This Love. Now, This Love, bit more difficult to play. I mean, she did play it throughout at the beginning.
I think during the 1989 tour, It's Gorgeous was incredible, but it was incredible. I don't know. I just don't know if it would really... Now it would just be a bit like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I know that sounds a little bit harsh, because I love that song, and song live was honestly one of the best parts of the tour, but I just feel like it's just not... Nowadays, it's just... There's so many other songs that could be so much more fun. I think what sometimes people forget with a kind of tour, you have to be really careful about a set list, because if you play a certain amount of songs with a certain vibe or that are too slow, you can bore a crowd and very easily lose people's attention. You have to kind of keep energy high, and when you do kind of dip down into the slower kind of, you know, more kind of acoustic or sad ballady songs, you have to kind of raise that again. You know what I mean? And sometimes that can take a lot to kind of raise it back. Like
also, and obviously this is something that we'll speak about when we get to those albums, but I do think if we're going to have an acoustic moment or a slower moment in this tour, we all know which albums we want those songs to be from. Like, we don't... obviously, Exile is going to be preferred to This Love. Like, no offense to This Love. It's a beautiful song, and it had its moment, which was great. But there are some songs we haven't mentioned that are fan favourites in terms of 1989 World Tour performances and just in general. Like, for example, Out of the Woods. And I know a lot of people love I Know Places. That performance, New Romantics,
I Know Places.
Those three.
This is one. This is one that I think is realistic, and I think that this would be a good fan favourite moment that wouldn't come across too fan favourite, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, because it was a single.
It still is high energy, still fun, and still is quite well known, but also still is a fan favourite, but wouldn't make her kind of, you know, like someone that maybe isn't like a hardcore fan, be like, oh, this is a bit dull. You know what I mean? Because it's still fun, it's still pop, and I feel like that would really please a lot of people, and I could see that maybe taking the place of something like Blank Space.
Right.
I feel like you could have like Shake It Off, New Romantics, and then the other ones that I'm going to suggest is Out of the Woods.
Yes.
And there's a reason why, because it's a certain midnight song, but we will eventually get to that.
Yes, we will.
That's one of the songs I feel like will be there. I'm thinking about 4.
Right.
From 1989, maybe 5, but they would literally have to be really mashed and quite short.
A snippet kind of thing.
So like Out of the Woods, you know what I mean, being included with question. That kind of thing. But so for me, I'm thinking Shake It Off, New Romantics, Blank Space, Style, and I know that's a bit of a push, but Style is so fun, I think I'm just hoping, and then Romantics and Out of the Woods. Right. They're the ones I'm thinking. Okay. What about you?
Yeah, obviously, I'm going to say Shake It Off. I don't know. I feel bad for not saying Blank Space, but I really want Out of the Woods there. I'm being kind of more like... I'm being very subjective in this one. In the other ones, I've tried to be more objective and be like, these are the ones I think that have to appear. But in this one, because... And I'm being like that because we have heard all of 1989 performed live, which was so lucky. So the whole album, we've kind of got what their live performances can be. So I kind of want to be a bit more subjective. So yeah, I'm thinking Shake It Off. I'm thinking Out of the Woods. And perhaps, I guess, New Romantics. I'm going to go with those 3. Although I don't think
that's unrealistic.
But then we're kind of like, what about Clean? Like, you know? What about...
Yeah, like I love
Welcome to New York?
I don't know. See, Welcome to New York weirdly had a little moment back during Lover, which was really random. And that's the thing, it's like she could throw some rogue ones in there, and I think that
this is it.
New Romantics would be deemed rogue, but like not in a rogue way.
And then, of course, to round it off, we have like the deep cuts. So there's some that I really, I'm sad to say, I don't think we're going to see like a resurgence of them. Like the How You Get the Girls, the All You Had to Do Was Stays of This World.
I Wish You Would.
Yes, which is one of my favorites. But yeah.
Same here. I Wish You Would is probably like number 2 for me on 1989.
So good.
I love that album. I love that song, sorry. I love the album as well, but that song I just adore. But I feel like 1989 could have a lot of acoustic moments. I think that's where they'll kind of be brought in.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah, so as we have been discussing, like, in our heads, there's a surprise song moment in the Eras Tour, as there has been in most of Taylor's other tours, and these surprise moments tend to be acoustic, Taylor on her guitar, or sometimes on the piano, she changes up things. Thinking of those acoustic moments, I do think you're right, and I think we might get quite a few really, really nicely rearranged songs. Like, can you imagine an acoustic version of something like I Wish You Would being played, which we haven't ever heard before in that kind of...
That would be so fun. And also, I can't remember whose comment it is, so shout out to whoever said it, and I apologise for not remembering who said it, but interestingly, on one of our last episodes, someone mentioned about how during the 1989 tour, Taylor and her band said that they basically were able to learn a song for a surprise guest within like 2 hours.
Right.
And Taylor was like really impressed by the skill of her band and how they were able to learn songs so quick. So maybe
more changes than I think.
Maybe more changes than we might possibly think. I don't think like that last minute of like, you've got 2 hours, we're playing afterwards.
Yeah.
But like more like, okay, it's either, let's say, Style or Blank Space tonight, and it's like tonight.
Okay.
Style. Cool.
I can get behind that, like a kind of rotating moment.
Almost like not every song, but you know what I mean, like the big hits.
Yeah.
Ones that people wouldn't be too concerned. You know what I mean? Like if you heard Blank Space or Style, you'd be happy with it.
Especially
you know what I mean?
for the dates that are in the same place over various nights. Maybe that would be a really fun way to, you know, change up things and give a unique experience, but at the same time conserving the general feel of it. A lot of hard work to go through, but definitely a very interesting thing to think about.
The one thing I love about tours is like the fan accounts,
the updates,
or the like big accounts, or the update accounts, or even like the Taylor Nations of the world, like posting videos and stuff of like fans outside and like everyone getting ready and sharing this and that and what they're surprised. There's something so fun about tour that we just haven't had in so long. And I found it a lot with like Harry Styles fans with like Love on Tour. There's just so much joy and excitement just before you even really see Harry or he comes out, because everyone's just so like hyped to be there and everyone's just so excited, being like, oh, this has happened, and then what's he gonna wear? And it's the same thing with like Taylor, what's she gonna rock out with? What's this is it. So much anticipation and fun.
That first weekend is gonna be incredible. I know some of you have commented and told us that you're going to very like specific tour dates in the first couple of months, but if any of you guys, because I can't remember right now, are going to that like first date, let us know, because that is going to be so fun. Like every single day is going to be amazing, but just like not knowing anything, like you don't,
I'd be a bit nervous. Everything's because every concert I've ever been to,
what if I don't know a song?
Like, inside out. That's my biggest fear. I've known the set list inside out. I know outfits, everything, so basically nothing's a surprise, because I'm really bad with surprises, but I love that. I quite like knowing what's coming and being ready for stuff. And also with Taylor, there is always an element of surprise anyway. Something changes or something happens. I'm mad that we're halfway through Taylor's discography.
I know.
And like, and it's mad that like back in 2014, 1989 was like the most newest, and I just think, gosh, it's crazy. There's so much.
There's double that now, and even more if you think of the vault and stuff.
More. 100%.
Goodness.
Yeah, there's so many more songs. So it's hard to kind of start filling up the kind of track list before.
There's no space.
Before we even got halfway. We've already filled it up. By the time you pick like 4 songs off so far, you know, we're album number 5 now. So it's like, that's like 20 songs.
Exactly.
If you're picking 4 from each, you know what I mean? So that's just mental. So even if you're picking like 3 from each, we're about 12. Well, you know, a standard set list is about 21, 22 songs roughly. Pushing it, like Taylor-wise. And even that's pushing it. In terms of a set list, that's more like a Reputation style set list if you include the kind of mashups as individual songs. So, you know, we're kind of pushing it already. You know, we've only got about 8 spaces left, and we've still got, you know, another 4 albums or so to go. So, yeah, it's hard to pick. It is really hard, but yeah, we shall eventually see, and I'm sure whatever Taylor will pick will be the best ones and will be so fun. So it's exciting to see what she kind of eventually does decide. Thanks for listening. We've now come to the end of this episode. We hope you've enjoyed hearing us discuss the 1989 album, and then also what songs might possibly be included from that album on the Eras Tour. If you did enjoy this episode, make sure that you like and subscribe to us on YouTube, and also if you'd like to kind of hear updates on when new episodes will be coming out, make sure you also follow us over on Instagram at Swiftly Spoken Podcast.